Good day everyone, for this video, we are going to tackle about the speech organs and its functions. So, the organs of speech, the various organs of our mouth we use to produce speech sounds are called the organs of speech or speech organs. Speech organs or articulators produce the sound of language. Organs used for speech include the lips, teeth, alveolar ridge, hard palate, bilium or soft palate, uvula, glottis, and various parts of our tongue. They can be divided into two types, passive and active articulators. The study of speech sounds is essentially important for getting the fundamental idea about producing speech sounds. The various organs work in different ways to produce speech sounds. Then the organs of speech are described under three systems: the respiratory system, the phonatory system, and articulatory system.
So number one is the respiratory system, which consists of three parts, which are number one, the lungs, and number two, the muscles of the chest, and number three, the windpipe. So let me expound to you the lungs first. So the lungs perform the action of breathing in the respiratory, which is known as the exhalation and the inhalation. It also provides the source of energy for our vocal activity by this airstream. The airstream mechanism is called pulmonic egressive airstream, and the pulmonic means the lungs. Egressive airstream means that the airstream goes out of the lungs. And number two, the muscles of the chest is the lung performing respiration under the function of the muscles of the chest. It consists of three muscles, which are the number one, pectoralis major, number two, pectoralis minor, and number three, the serratus anterior. And number three, the windpipe or trachea. So the air passes through the windpipe. In breathing in, they contract to pull your rib cage both upward and outward when you inhale. And as your lungs expand, air sucked in through your nose and mouth. And then the air travels down your windpipe and then into your lungs. After passing through your bronchial tubes, the air travels to the alveoli or air sacs.
Okay, let's discuss about phonatory system. As you can see on the screen, there are things that form the phonatory system. The first one of them is the larynx. The second is the vocal cords. Third is the trachea. Larynx is made up from cartilage and muscle that act as a valve. It is a bunny box-like structure in the front part of the throat and the upper part of trachea. It is also known as the Adam's apple. And the vocal cord is the lip-like structure inside the larynx. These cords are placed horizontally from front to the back, joined at the front and separated at the back. Trachea is commonly known as windpipe. When the air from the respiratory system starts traveling, the air streams help you to bring the air to the phonatory system. When it enters to the phonatory system, then there will be several modifications. Now, what is those modifications be? It will be basically depends on the vocal cords. Let's discuss the three categories of the vocal cords. This will help us understand sounds we are producing and when we are producing it. So before discussing vocal cords, let me create an imaginary situation about this concept of vocal cords. For example, imagine you are sitting near the window and this window is fully opened and the air is blowing. So you can feel the wind on your face and you are feel relaxed. Then imagine again the window is closed and you will not able to feel any kind of air touching your face. But what if the window is partially closed, not fully opened? There's a little gap and you're hearing something because the wind is blowing outside. Similar case of the vocal cords. Now, let's discuss about the first picture. As you can see in the screen, it's a vocal cord that is wide open or fully open. You can see a gap between them that is called glottis, Glottis. It is the space between the vocal cords. When your vocal cords are wide apart, the voice or the sound that you produce is known as voiceless sound because there is no vibration in the whole process of production of voice. Again, if your vocal cords are wide apart, there is no vibration and it is called voiceless sound. Let's proceed to the second picture. As you can see, the vocal cords are basically loosely held. It means there is a gap in between. You can relate to the window partially open, and you can see that there's a little gap in between. So what will happen in this condition or position when somebody is trying to speak? The sounds which will be produced will have some kind of vibration and we can hear a sound. And that vibration there during the production is going to result in the voiced sounds. So let me explain it again. The sounds which is produced when the vocal cords are loosely held creates a vibration and it results into the voice sounds. Okay, let's do a very quick activity. Say saw and zoo. While speaking or saying these two words, put your two fingers in your Adam's apple or larynx so that you can feel the vibration that I'm talking about. As you have noticed that when you say saw, you cannot feel any vibration on your finger, but when you say zoo, there is a vibration that you can feel on your fingers. Therefore, when you say saw, it is a voiceless sound. And when you say zoo, it is a voice sound. The last picture is a vocal cords that are tightly held. It means there is no space between them. It is a case where you are eating or drinking. It is often said that you should not speak while you are eating. Why? Because when you are speaking in that condition, then your vocal cords will be either partially closed or fully open. In that case, the food can go on the wrong canal and it can result in some kind of breathing difficulties. Your food will enter your trachea or windpipe. In this case, as you can see in the picture, the position of your vocal cords are closed or tightly held. The gluteus is closed, that means there is no air that can escape. The airstream is stopped completely for a short period of time. For example, when you say lip, sick, shut, there is a sudden stop. When vocal cords drawn apart and produce explosive sound that is called gluteal stop, like a mid-cough. As what we have discussed earlier, voiceless sounds are basically when your vocal cords is partially open or loosely held. But how many voiceless sounds are there and how many voiced sounds? Consonants are divided into voiceless and voiced sounds. But if I said vowels, always remember that all vowels are voiced sounds. None of them are voiceless. So the consonants which are voiceless are 9 in numbers. So let's discuss these 9 consonants voiceless sounds. Pa, ta, ka, cha, fa, tha, sa, sha, ha. These are the 9 consonant sounds that are voiceless. Now, there are 15 consonants that are voice sounds. The ba, da, ga, ja, ma, na, ra, la, va, za, za, wa, ya, and ja. I have here 4 examples for the voiceless sounds. The cut, fat, chat, top, sheet, seat. And for the voice sound, red, men, dead, bed, let, nest, den.
The articulatory system. After larynx, the airstream passes through other 9 organs of speech that are laying above the larynx. These are the lips, the alveolar ridge, the soft palate, the tongue, the gluteus, the teeth, the hard palate, the uvula, and the pharynx. These organs of speech make the articulatory system together. Active and passive articulators. Active articulators are those organs of speech that move from their position of rest to articulate against other organs of speech that do not or cannot move, which are called passive articulators. In producing T, D, N, S, the tip and blade of the tongue move from their position to the alveolar ridge. So, the tip and blade of the tongue are active articulators and the alveolar ridge is the passive one. The active articulators are mostly located in the lower jaw and the passive articulators are mostly in the upper jaw. The lips. The upper and lower lips have important role in producing certain speech sounds, especially in producing vowels, closing the lips and then releasing the closure abruptly. Example, put, but, closing the lips and making nasal consonant. Example, man. Protrude and rounded. Example, boot. Spread. Example, beads. Neutral. Not spread, not rounded. Example, about. About. Second is the teeth. Certain consonants are produced with the help of the teeth. Movements, putting the tongue in between the front teeth, which are called interdental fricatives. Example, think, that. Pressing the lower lip with the upper front teeth, which are called labiodental fricatives. Example, fan, van. The third one is the alveolar ridge. It's located just behind the upper front teeth, and consonantal sounds like T, D, N, L, S, Z are produced here. Tongue tip or blade touches the alveolar ridge. Example, L, N, making a complete closure by the tip of the tongue and the alveolar ridge followed by a sudden release of the closure. T, D. The fourth one is the hard palate. The hard bony surface of the roof of the mouth immediately after alveolar ridge. It's not movable. The front part of the tongue moves toward the hard palate. Example, yes, yes. The fifth one is the soft palate or velum. The soft and movable part of the roof of the mouth immediately after the hard palate. Movements, velum drop down and the back of the tongue makes a closure with velum, which is called velar closure. Example, king, king. Velum raises itself and make a closure with the back wall of the pharynx, which is called velic closure. Example, go.
The uvula. It's a small fleshy pendant structure at the very end of the soft palate. Movement. The back of the tongue articulates with uvula and produces a sound. The tongue. It's the most important single organ of speech. Even in many languages, the word tongue means language too. It's flexible and can make a large number of gestures to produce speech sounds. It has different parts: the tip, blade, front, back, and ribs. Different parts of the tongue. The tip. When the tongue is the state of the breast, it's the part that is lying behind the lower front teeth. The blade. It's lying the opposite side of the alveolar ridge. The front. It faces the hard palate. The back. It's on the opposite side mater and butter. Oral and nasal cavities. The air is pushed by the lungs and travels through the mouth, which is called oral cavity, or through the nose, which is called nasal cavity. State of soft palate. If raised, nasal passage is blacked, so oral sounds are produced. If lowered, nasal passage is open. If oral passage is blacked, nasal sound is produced. If oral passage is also open, nasalization sounds are produced.